What is up, Wretched Nation? Today, back here with the Dyna. We got some parts in the mail, and hopefully, for too long, we're gonna have these swapped out. All right, guys, we got our box from RevZilla here. So let's open it up and see what we have. All right, we got our drag specialties shocks here. We went with these drag specialty shocks a lot because of price and preference, but these are 13 to, no, these are 12.5 to 13.5. I got them because I wanted to set them up at 13. So let's get all this out and check it out. Alright guys, these are the shocks. You can get a little picture there. We'll put them side by side once we get one off. But biggest thing we're doing, trying to get a little bit more height and just an overall better shock. I've had these shocks for ever now. They've got about 30,000 miles on them, and it's not comfortable. Kind of surprised I've lasted this long, but I guess I just have other priorities and haven't been able to do some stuff to the bike that I wanted to, but we're finally changing that. So I really don't know a whole lot about what we're doing. We're just going to do it. But I want to go for about 13 inches. And basically we have an adjustable height and preload on our spring. And what you want to do, just for like a quick, you want to get the middle of each eyelet right at 13. And I can already see right there I need to go down just one more turn. So we're going to go down one more turn. Now I'm going to leave it a little loose just to try to help in getting that on there. But that's your height, and this is going to be your preload. There's specs, there's a destruction sheet, and there is specs on what shock you have, the minimum and maximum height that you're supposed to go. I don't think I'm supposed to go above 13 inches for this, even though they'll go 13.5, which is fine. 13 is what I wanted. That's what the paper says anyways. And then there's specs for what preload or spring height you'll have here. It'll be easier to set on the bike. I'm going to go somewhere on the middle but towards the soft side because these are the heavy duty version. Therefore more weight. I am a bigger guy, but I will not be too upright in this bike, so I'm probably going to want it on the softer side, but that's probably going to be lots of riding, testing, and adjusting, so we're not super worried about that. But you will have to jack your bike up, and of course I don't have a motorcycle jack or lift or any of that, so I use a regular old jack, so please roast me in the comments if you would like. I will say, if you're going to do that, if you're going to lift your bike up with a regular automotive floor jack, jack it up on the kickstand side, and all we're trying to do is get most of the weight off the tire so there's not as much weight on the spring, so we're not really lifting it up in the air. But anyways, let's get to it. We're gonna take it off the bottom side first. It's only 2 bolts. That seemed like it was at a perfect height. The bottom bolt is a T50, and then the top is like a 3/4. They do say in the kit that more than likely these covers will not fit, which is fine. I already loosened these up just a hair. You don't want to have them completely tight, because if you do, or if you need to loosen them up before you take everything off. Alright. Alright, so these are our differences in shocks. You can see we're going to end up with a little bit more height there. But we are not going to throw these away. These are definitely crusty, look like crap. They are, I believe, adjustable from the factory. I guess there's a special tool that gets up in there and turns that or something. That's what I've heard, but I'm not going to mess anything with that. The plan is to actually put these on my road glide, and that idea is going to come from Cruz Sincity. He's got a YouTube channel. I've seen him do this, and it's for the bigger guys because the stock suspension on those suck too. But I don't know how well mine are going to do because they've got 30,000 miles on it. But we're going to give it a try because they're free. I don't recommend going out and buying a new set of these. But if you have a set of Dyna shocks laying around, they will work on the road glide. The only difference is this shock mounts like this and the road glide's more up. So you have got to be heavy to compress that. And if you're not riding 2 up, more than likely you don't need these. But we're going to give it a shot. That's for another video. But I will link Cruz Sincity's YouTube channel down below because he watching his video gave me the idea. So definitely going to do that. We are going to mount it this way. And it appears that we are for sure going to have to loosen up the other side. We're not going to be able to do this like that. Alright, we got the other side at the bottom of the shock loosened up, and I was a little worried about the exhaust, but I think we just are going to clear. If we went any higher, we probably would not, but that's okay. The wildlife is getting a little loud, but anyways, a little sketchy with the floor jack, but hey, it is what it is. We're gonna go ahead and this bolt mounted. You may need to work the jack back and forth a little bit to get this to mount. You don't want to mount it in a bind. But we should be good. Yeah, these covers are not going to fit. You could probably cut these out, make them fit. It would look a lot better. I might do that in the free time and maybe remount these, paint them black. Maybe paint that black. Wouldn't look so bad, but that's alright right now. This is an easy thing to come on and off, so right now we're just going to put these together and see how it does. Now I think the torque specs on this is like 30 to 40 foot-pounds, which isn't much. It's just good hand tight. You don't have to crank on it too bad, so you don't have to get crazy with it. I'm going to see how it does, see if it loosens up, see what we might need to do with it, but it should be okay. Alright, So now that we got that done, we have to tighten down that. This is going to lock in our height, which is not going to go anywhere because that bottom has to spin. And then we need to adjust that for height. But that's pretty much it. That's installed. So we're going to do the other side, get it down, and see what this thing looks like. Alright guys, we got the shocks installed. And that's my gap there. I feel like they look pretty good. And I can say one thing. This thing does have pretty monster lean. It's about level. Video probably doesn't do it justice, but it does have a monster lean. Now, I will say, because we've raised the bike up, my chain got a lot of slack in it. And of course, I don't have a socket or wrench to loosen up my axle nut. I thought about using a pair of pliers, but I'm just not going to do that. A buddy owns a shop not too far from me. I'll probably take it up there and get it tightened down. So until then, probably going to take it for a little test ride, but not go crazy with it. But I really like the wrenches. I mean the shocks. Jesus Christ. I had the wrenches in mind because adjusting the shocks took probably 2 to 3 times longer than it did to put the shocks on, which is fine. It's not that, you know, adjusting the shocks is hard. It's that putting the shocks on are pretty easy. Originally, I went with a 7-inch length here. That's your preload. And I sat on the bike and my big ass barely compressed the shocks at all. So I was like, okay, let's loosen it up. These other heavy duty shocks, I knew that if I went with a light duty, I'm right in the middle because I'm not going to ride too up. But if I got the light shocks, I'd been on the super firm side, and I knew if I got the heavy duty, I was going to be on the light side. But I figured shocks will lighten up a little bit, and I can tighten it down. But I went with 7 to begin with. That didn't cut it. I think 7.44. I have to double check the instructions, but I think that's my maximum length I can do. I'm at 7 1/4 right now, 13 inches overall. So I'm pretty happy with it. I think the gap looks good. The bike's got a pretty monster lean, and I can definitely tell it is an inch off the ground when I put my feet down. It is a lot higher, but I'm excited to see how this is going to feel. All right, it's the next day. I had to wait till the next day to get this done. Didn't have what I needed, couldn't get to it, had some stuff coming up, so it's the next day after work. We picked up a big ass wrench so we can get that axle nut. All we had to do was loosen up that axle nut, tighten down these adjusters a little bit, and then we got that chain pretty tight. We'll ride it. Probably need to loosen it up a little bit, but we'll tighten it down, go ride it, see how it is when we come back, and if we need to adjust it, we'll adjust it further. But go take a little ride and see how these shocks do. Alright guys, on the road, riding with these new shocks. I like it. Just stopped at my first stop sign, and it's definitely different coming to a stop and putting my feet down with that 1 extra inch. Not that it's too tall or anything like that. I've put almost 30,000 miles on this bike, so I've gotten very used to how it rides, and I know exactly how it feels. And when I put my feet down and I got that extra inch to go and my feet are just flat and my knees aren't nearly as bent as they usually are, I can definitely tell. But I like it.
bike feels bigger. It feels almost like it's ready to pounce. It feels just right where it should be. It doesn't feel lazy in this position. And the suspension feels really nice. I haven't really done much with it yet, but going down my driveway, it's such a bad driveway, I kind of went up it at speed, and I could tell like the rear end, it soaks up a lot more than what it used to. I'm gonna head to town and go over some of the bumps and dips that I'm used to, just try to get a really good quick comparison to what I've been riding on this whole time. Now this isn't gonna, I'm not gonna do an all-in review on this, because I'm gonna have to assume that maybe within 500 miles, you know, the shock feel might be a little different. I might need to adjust. Probably won't change the height, but I might want to adjust the spring height so my compression won't, or preload won't be the same. I don't know. Alright, coming up here, we got railroad tracks. I've been over these railroad tracks with this bike many a times. Let's see how it does. I'm not going to slow down that much. Man, I'm kind of surprised. That's pretty nice. I can really tell the difference between the front and the back suspension working there. Like, there's not this jarring motion that happens or used to happen in the back. And again, you know, at 30,000 miles, I'm old shocks. The shock's 10 years old, 11 years old, depending on when this bike actually came out. And these shocks are actually to what I need. It's the height I want. I picked it to be in my weight class, you know, and it's different than the stock shocks that Harley would give. So, I mean, it should be a lot better, and it is. One of the biggest things I've heard with doing this upgrade is you're going to instantly want to change the front, and they're right. I would love to instantly go ahead and get my front suspension done. It's not going to happen right now, but I would love to. Yeah, that suspension's solid, man. For 270 bucks, it seems like a really solid upgrade. Super easy to do. I ran into some issues with my chain, just not having the proper tool. But that's just me. But hell, the one trip to the tool store in Harbor Freight got what I needed. The adjustment's a bit of a pain in the ass. I would say if there's anything I would want to do to, make the kit better, I would make those spanner wrenches just a little bigger. Just a little bit bigger. They're a bit of a pain in the ass to hold in your hand and to work, and especially when you're trying to do the preload on the springs on the bike, make your adjustment. That's just not easy to do. Now I would say, especially at the beginning and maybe for a trip, I'd try to keep the spanner wrenches on you. just to make sure everything stays tight. This is my first trip out on it. I'm just going to town and back, so I'm not super worried about having issues. And hell, I know people in town, so if I do run into some issues, all I gotta do is make a phone call. But especially on a bike, I'm a big fan of anytime you make some changes, go out for a ride, come back, check everything, make sure it's tight. But yeah, those spanner wrenches make them a little bigger. Other than that, the kit's nice. $270, can't complain. There are some cheaper ones, or there are cheaper for other bikes, and depending on what size you get, I'm sure Sportsters are a lot cheaper. But let's go over some of these bumps. Yeah, that's not bad. I can tell the bite of the bump has been taken out. Like that back jarring, just bang, has been taken out. It is kind of funny though, when you come to a stop, especially if it's a little angled. Like right now, my stop's a little angled, so my right foot, especially not wanting to touch the exhaust, my right foot's not 100% flat, which I am not used to at all. It's always been flat before. I kind of like that. Kind of like the feel of this bike being a little higher. And of course right now I'm just going through all the horrible roads I can find. And I could make the suspension a little bit softer. I could take a little bit of the preload out. I'm pretty close to the max number though, and I don't ever want to be maxed out one way or the other. I think I'm sitting on 7 1/4 spring height, and I believe the minimum is 7.4. Yeah, I think it's 7.4. Now the max is like 6.8, I believe. I'm not gonna hit the max. I'm not going that direction. But oh shit. What in the world they got going on over here? I don't know what they got going on over there. I guess exercise and not trying to be fat slobs like me. Yeah, I've got a noticeable difference on my back though. It feels so much better. I'm happy with it. I for sure want to do my front suspension now, but that's going to have to wait. I got so many other things I got to do. We are going to keep the front, the rear shocks off this thing that we took off. We're going to keep the stock shocks, and we're going to put them on the road glide and see what happens. Like I stated before, Cruz Sincity did that on his road glide, and he seems to like it. He's about my weight, so I think it'll look good. But yeah, we're going to keep the stock shocks. Cruz Sincity, he's got a YouTube channel. Like I said before, I'll link it in the description below, but he took his stock shocks off of Dyna and put it on his road glide. I think he's got a 2019. Same frame though. Basically same bike. But he's about my weight class. Pretty similar build, it looks like anyways. So we will try that. He seemed to like it. I was gonna do the tuner on the bike. I was gonna grab the tuner for the bike, but I'm coming up on Bike Week in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. That's not too terribly far away. It's the end of next month, so I need to get handlebars on my road glide before then. It's about a 4-hour ride, which isn't a big deal. I've done it twice with the wife, but I'm just sick and tired of the stock bars. I can deal with it when it's by myself, but when she rides, I can't lay back like I usually do. So I need to get better bars. Alright guys, so first impressions overall, I think the shocks are great for their money. That being said, I've never had an expensive pair of shocks. I've ridden a couple different bikes, but nothing with anything expensive. I've ridden a couple bikes that had factory Fox shocks, something that Fox and Harley worked with. It's still a factory Harley shock though, so I'm sure it's not nearly as good as what you Fox would have made on their own aftermarket. But first impressions are great. I'm gonna probably do like an update video eventually once I feel that everything's been worked in and settled in, and if I have to make any adjustments or anything like that, I'll definitely do like a long-term review. But I'm happy with them. If you guys want to check it out, definitely check them out. As far as I can tell, they're pretty much the same price anywhere you go. About 270 bucks. But I'm happy with them. I hope you guys like this video, and if you do, please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Alright guys, that's pretty much going to wrap up the video. My first impressions are that I'm very happy with these shocks. Super easy to install, no real problems. I feel like the fit, finish, and quality was good, especially for 270 bucks. Compared to the stocks, I mean, they're amazing, so that's a no-brainer. But from what I've read, anything is better than stock, so take that for what it's worth. But I'll definitely do an update video once I get some miles and time into the shocks. See if they feel a little different once you get some miles on them and break them in. But that'll be a video for another day. But if you like the video, please leave a like on it. Comment what you think about the shocks. Do you have a pair of these? Do you have maybe a set of progressives or something similar, or maybe even like some Legends or Oleans or Fox or something way more expensive than these? What are your thoughts on them? Let me know down in the comments, and we'll see if maybe there's something better out there, or if these are a pretty good deal. But as always, keep it wretched.